Right now, somewhere she is staring at her phone. Your name is not on her screen. There are no new messages from you, no calls, nothing. And yet, you are louder in her mind than you have ever been. Your silence is not empty to her. It is deafening. It is consuming her thoughts at 2 in the morning. It is making her question everything she thought she knew about what you two had. And here is the part that will shock you. The less you say, the more space you take up in her head. What I'm about to tell you is something most men never understand. Your silence is not pushing her away. It is pulling her in deeper than your words ever could. Let me tell you something that changed how I see relationships forever. A study from the University of Virginia found that people think about uncertain relationships far more than relationships where everything is clear. When a woman knows exactly where she stands with you, she can categorize you and move on. But when you go silent, when you become a question mark instead of a period, her brain cannot let you go. This is not manipulation. This is psychology. This is how the human mind works when faced with the unknown. And here is what makes this even more fascinating. She has not deleted your photos. She has not blocked your number. She tells herself she has moved on. But every time her phone buzzes, there is a split second where she hopes it is you. She will never admit this out loud, not to her friends, not to herself. But it is happening. I have spent weeks researching the psychology behind silence in relationships, talking to relationship therapists, reading clinical studies, and listening to countless women describe what happens inside them when a man disappears. And what I found is both beautiful and heartbreaking. Your silence awakens 7 specific things in her mind, 7 psychological responses that keep you alive in her thoughts long after your last conversation ended. Some of these will surprise you. One of them might even change how you see her behavior completely. But there is one thing that happens around the 3rd week of silence that most people never talk about. It is the moment she starts to see you differently. Not worse, not better, just differently. And that shift can determine everything that happens next. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening inside her mind right now. Now, let me walk you through each of these awakenings. I am going to explain the psychology behind them, give you real examples, and show you exactly why your absence is doing something your presence never could. And if you are wondering whether she still thinks about you, trust me, after hearing this, you will have your answer. Let us start with the first thing your silence awakens in her. The first thing that happens when you go silent is what psychologists call rumination. In simple terms, she starts replaying everything, every conversation, every text message, every moment you shared. Her brain becomes a detective trying to solve a mystery that does not have enough clues. Here is what this looks like in real life. She's at work trying to focus on a meeting, and suddenly she remembers something you said 3 months ago. Was that a sign? Did she miss something? She scrolls back through old messages looking for hidden meanings. She analyzes your last conversation word by word, trying to figure out what went wrong. Dr. Guy Winch, a psychologist who specializes in emotional health, explains that the human brain treats unresolved emotional situations the same way it treats unfinished tasks. It keeps bringing them back to your attention until you find closure. Without closure, the loop never stops. And here is the thing about your silence. It gives her no closure. None. You have essentially left a story without an ending, and her brain cannot accept that, so it keeps writing possible endings on its own. Maybe he is busy. Maybe he met someone else. Maybe he is testing me. Maybe he never cared at all. I spoke with a woman named Sarah who told me about a man who went silent on her after 2 months of dating. She said it had been 6 weeks since his last message. I told everyone I was over it. But every night before bed, I would replay our last date in my head, trying to figure out what I did wrong. I was obsessed, and I hated myself for it. The obsessive replay is exhausting. It is frustrating, and yet she cannot stop it because your silence has turned you into an unsolved puzzle, and the human mind cannot resist trying to solve puzzles. This is the first awakening. You are more present in her thoughts now than when you were actually talking to her. Now, here comes something that might surprise you. The second thing your silence awakens is idealization. The longer you are gone, the better you become in her memory. This sounds counterintuitive, right? You would think that if someone disappears, the other person would start focusing on their flaws. They would remember all the annoying things and think, good riddance. But that is not how the brain works. Research from Northwestern University found that when we lose access to something or someone, we tend to remember them more positively than they actually were. It is called the scarcity effect combined with nostalgia bias. The things we cannot have become more valuable. The memories we cannot create anymore become more precious. So while you have been silent, something strange has been happening in her mind. She is forgetting the times you were inconsistent. She is overlooking the moments when you did not show up the way she needed. Instead, she is remembering the good parts, the way you made her laugh, that one night when everything felt perfect, the way you looked at her when she was talking. You are becoming a highlight reel instead of a full movie. A woman named Michelle told me this. She said, after he stopped calling, I started missing him in ways I never did when we were together. I remembered every sweet thing he ever did. I forgot about the canceled plans, the late replies, all of it. In my head, he became this perfect person who got away. This is the danger of silence. You are not just staying in her mind. You are being upgraded in her mind. The version of you she is holding on to right now might be better than the version you actually were. And here is the twist. If you come back after she has idealized you, you have to compete with the fantasy version of yourself she created. That is a lot of pressure, but it also means she is emotionally invested in something that feels rare and valuable. She is invested in you. The third, awakening is something I call the phantom presence. This is when you start appearing everywhere in her life, even though you are nowhere. Let me explain what this means. She is walking down the street and she sees someone who walks the same way you do. Her heart jumps for a second before she realizes it is not you. She hears a song that you showed her and suddenly she cannot breathe for a moment. She goes to a restaurant you mentioned once and she wonders if you ever went there. You have become a ghost that haunts her daily routine. This is not poetic exaggeration. There is actual science behind this. The brain creates neural pathways associated with people who matter to us. When someone becomes emotionally significant, our brain starts linking them to places, sounds, smells, and experiences. These associations do not disappear just because the person stops talking to us. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist who studies love, found that romantic attachment activates the same brain regions as addiction. When someone we are attached to disappears, our brain goes through withdrawal. And just as a person in withdrawal sees reminders of their addiction everywhere, a woman in emotional withdrawal sees reminders of you everywhere. A woman named Jessica described this perfectly. She said he loved this one coffee shop. After he went silent, I could not pass that street without thinking of him. It was ridiculous. I had only been there twice with him, but now it was his coffee shop in my mind. He had claimed spaces in my city without even knowing it. Your silence has not made you invisible. It has made you omnipresent. She sees you in places you have never been. She hears you in songs you never shared. You are everywhere precisely because you are nowhere. Now we arrive at the fourth awakening, and this one is painful for her. I call it the emotional detox. Around the second or third week of your silence, something shifts inside her. The hope that you will reach out starts to fade. The anger starts to rise. She goes through waves of emotion that feel almost physical. One day she is sad, crying over old photos. The next day she is furious, deleting your messages and telling herself she deserves better. The day after that, she feels nothing at all, just empty. And then just when she thinks she is finally over it, she dreams about you, and the whole cycle starts again. This is not weakness, this is withdrawal. Dr. Lucy Brown, a neuroscientist at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, explains that rejection and abandonment activate the same brain regions as physical pain. When you go silent, her brain is literally processing it as an injury. And just as the body goes through stages of healing, the heart goes through stages of emotional recovery. But here is the critical part. Withdrawal does not mean she is forgetting you. It means she is trying to salving and failing. Every wave of emotion is proof that you mattered. Every tear, every angry thought, every sleepless night is evidence that you left a mark. A woman named Daniela told me about her experience. She said, I went through this phase where I would be fine for days and then something small would trigger me. A song, a smell, someone mentioning his name, and I would fall apart all over again. It felt insane. Why could I not just get over someone who clearly did not care enough to stay? The emotional detox is brutal, but it is also temporary. The waves get smaller, the triggers lose their power. But during this phase, you are the most alive in her mind you have ever been because she is actively fighting to forget you. And that fight keeps you front and center. The fifth awakening is the what if spiral, and this one can last for months. What if I had said something different? What if I had not sent that message? What if I had been more patient? What if I reach out first? What if he is waiting for me to make a move? What if I ruined everything? These questions circle her mind endlessly. They visit her in the shower. They sit with her during her commute. They whisper to her right before she falls asleep. The what if spiral is torture because there are no answers, only possibilities, only regret, only the haunting feeling that something could have been different. Psychologists call this counterfactual thinking. It is the mind's way of processing loss by imagining alternative outcomes. And while it can sometimes help us learn from mistakes, in the context of your silence, it just keeps her trapped. A woman named Rebecca shared this with me. She said, I spent months wondering what if I had just been more chill? What if I had not asked him where this was going? What if I had played it cool? The what ifs drove me crazy because I could never know if any of them would have changed anything. Your silence gives her no answers, and without answers, she creates her own. She writes and rewrites the story in her head, always wondering if a different choice would have led to a different ending. This is the fifth awakening. You have become a permanent what if in her life. The sixth awakening is perhaps the most surprising of all. Your silence transforms how she feels about herself. In your absence, she starts to question her own worth. Was I not enough? Am I unlovable? What is wrong with me that he could just walk away? These thoughts are not logical. They are emotional and they are incredibly common. But here is where something beautiful can happen. Some women use this pain as fuel. They start working on themselves. They hit the gym. They focus on their careers. They reconnect with friends they had neglected. They become better versions of themselves, not to get you back, but to prove to themselves that they are worth staying for. Your silence in a strange way becomes a catalyst for her growth. A woman named Vanessa told me this. She said, after he disappeared, I went through a phase of feeling worthless, but then I got angry, not at him, at myself for letting someone have that much power over me. I started running every morning. I got promoted at work. I became someone I was proud of. He never saw it, but I did. Your silence can break her or it can make her. Either way, it changes her. And now we arrive at the seventh and final awakening. The reason she has not erased you from her life, it is not because she is weak. It is not because she is obsessed. It is because erasing you would mean erasing a part of herself. You represented something to her. Hope, maybe, possibility, a future she had started to imagine. When she deletes your photos, she is not just deleting images. She is deleting dreams, and that is much harder to do. Dr. Esther P.L., a renowned relationship therapist, says that we do not just mourn people when relationships end. We mourn the identities we had with them. We mourn who we were when we were with them. We mourn the future we will never get to live. She has not erased you because you are woven into a chapter of her life that she is not ready to close. Every photo, every message, every memory is proof that she was once someone who loved and was maybe loved in return. A woman named Christina put it this way. She said, I still have his number saved. I do not know why. I will never call, but deleting it feels too final. It is stupid, but keeping it feels easier than admitting it is really over. She has not erased you because you still exist in the space between her past and her future. You are the bridge she has not crossed yet. And until she does, you remain. So there you have it. 7 things your silence awakens in her. The obsessive replay, the idealization, the phantom presence, the emotional detox, the what-if spiral, the transformation, and the inability to let go. Your silence is not nothing. It is everything. It is louder than words. It is more powerful than presence. It is the space where her feelings grow, shift, and sometimes become stronger than they ever were when you were right in front of her. She has not erased you. She probably will not for a long time because you have become more than a person to her. You have become a question she cannot answer, a story she cannot finish, a feeling she cannot shake, and that whether you intended it or not is the most powerful position you could ever hold in someone's heart. But wait, before you leave, I need to tell you something important. Everything I just explained to you shows what is happening inside her mind right now. But here is the real question. What do you do with this information? Do you reach out? Do you stay silent longer? Do you let her go completely? The answer depends on something most men never consider. And I have created a video that explains exactly that. On your screen right now is a video that will show you the next critical step. Because knowing what she feels is only half the battle. Knowing what to do next is what separates the men who get her back from the men who lose her forever. Click on it now. This is not just another video. This is the missing piece you need to see. Go ahead and click, because what comes next changes.